What's up everyone, welcome to today's video, welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. With all of these conversations surrounding Gotham Knights and the current gen consoles, there are some questions that some people are probably asking, saying, is it worth it even going into PC gaming? These are questions that I've had from some of my past videos where I talked about, Gotham Knights and people who wanted to play and some of the options that they had. One of the options I suggested was the Xbox Series S, and I also suggested PC, and some of you have asked me a lot more questions about it, and I thought this is probably an opportunity to try to provide a little bit of value and talk a little bit more about the entire shtick called PC gaming. As a console gamer, it could be, in a sense, harrowing. Like, you could just stand there and be a deer in headlights going, where do I start from? How do I even go about this? Your notions on PC gaming could also be really different. One of them is the cost of PC gaming is so expensive. And by the way, I decided to fire up Arkham Origins for you Gotham Knights fans just so I could show you that in Warner Brothers Games Montreal at one time, they made a game that could run at 165, 166 FPS. Now, the game was locked at 30 FPS on the consoles back then, but, because of the way technology is advanced, I'm able to play this thing at this particular quality. It's insane. In fact, let me rock this last round of baddies and just show you the performance is insane. I mean, I can't believe how good the thing performs. See? And the frame rates are quite stable. Sometimes it's even climbing. That's crazy. But one thing I've noticed is for some time, people were talking about how these AMD cards, I use an AMD graphics card for this build, are not really good at playing some of the older games. But that's apparently not true. Can't stand these ninjas, man. I'm just gonna take y'all out. Oh, did you see that? She went through the ground. By the way, this game was a little buggy though on release. Ooh. It's just one of those games where you just have to, deal with it and just say, whatever. And so the question still goes on. Man, it climbed up to like 170 FPS. That's pretty cool. I mean, it stays more, stable at 165 frames per second. And so what the question is, what am I going to have to do, or what am I going to have to deal with? Number one, I like my console because it's portable. You can build a portable PC. It's not that, well, it's not impossible, just saying that. Some people may say, I don't know how to use a mouse and a keyboard. I'm using an Xbox controller. So these are some of the things that you also have to understand, that there are ways for you to be able to get the experience of that portability sitting on your couch. That's basically what a lot of console players want. That availability is here on PC. And for the first time when I started trying to get into this, I was kind of confused, and I started looking up a lot of resources on the internet. So I thought, why don't I show you some of the different things that you could do as, say, someone who wants to get into this particular aspect. And then you can go from there and start making a few choices. So the very first thing you want to do when you're looking towards building a console is, a PC is, you want to make sure that you're buying something that has a pathway for upgrades that's easy. Now, what this means is, because of the way building a PC is, which is actually modular, it's like building Lego pieces, putting all of it together. That's all it is. Everything's already done. You just slot things into the right place, screw down and hold down stuff and bolt it in the right place, and fire it on. Literally, that's what it is. That's how you build one. And you have to find a way that, kind of moves you to a path to upgrade. Let me give you an example. So AMD came out with their AM4 platform. The AM4 platform, is one that takes a series and a host of different kinds of CPUs. Now, I went ahead and I wanted to upgrade and do some production stuff. So I got the Ryzen 9 stuff, and I got the 3950 at first. The 3900. Now I have a 3950, but I used that 3900 for a while, made a bunch of YouTube videos, and did a lot of production work. And then eventually I sold it recently, and I upgraded to the 5950. That's because when I was buying it, I knew there was an upgrade path. At that time, the 5950 was around $700 for one CPU. I understand that many times, folk will say, but a console should be able to do this and they're more powerful, but again, there are different levels, and you don't have to spend $700 on one CPU. You're not making YouTube videos unless you are, but it's a whole different, category. But what are the options under the AM4 platform? You have a Ryzen 5 3600, which is one that was suggested for Gotham Knights. That one's $100 and something, and it will play your game very well. It has 6 cores compared to 16 cores here. And then you can upgrade and make your way up the line because there are so many good, CPUs under the AM4 platform. One of them is the what is it? Is the Ryzen 7 5800 X3D. This is the best gaming CPU in the AM4 platform. In fact, across the board. And then you can get a Ryzen 5 3600, which is just I say just, but you can get an old one on eBay. You can go where people are, putting away their, old gadgets, and you can just enjoy this quality because you're looking and you know exactly where to look. And then one day you can start here with Ryzen 5. It's under the AM4 platform, and then eventually make your way up here. After you've used this to play your games, you can then sell it to 6 core and then move over here to an 8 core. And then that's how you start to make your path up. Now, the reason I say that upgrade path is because you actually buy a motherboard that is able to support these CPUs. So if you buy an AM4 motherboard, you see it here, AM4, 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 and I'm using, AMD because AMD is actually very simple to understand. When you go to Intel, that's where the complications are. So all these AM4 chips will all work on the same motherboard. So this is what I have in my computer right now. I was using the 3900, it's been discontinued. But any of these other chips here, if I find them right now, I can literally go ahead and just slot it into my motherboard, and boom, I'm in business. There's no hesitation, there's nothing. And so this is how you go. So you can start from, some of the more affordable stuff and then make your way up to the much more. And if you're a gamer, this is what you probably need to be using right here. This one here. This one here is for production and people who do video editing and all of the above. So that's one way to go. You can also elect to, go ahead and get a graphics card as well, and start from one place in terms of how you're buying your graphics card. So you start out with a graphics card that you can afford, and then you eventually work yourself up by selling and maybe buying a new one, and then upgrading all the way to where you can actually, afford that graphics card. Another thing too is you can actually snag some of these components and put them aside, and then eventually build all the way up if you want. Say maybe you're on Facebook Marketplace, or maybe you're on, your local online sales place or whatever it is, Mercari or whatever it is, and you see something that's a good deal, do a little bit of research and say, man, I could use this in, down the road. You can cop it for a very little amount of money and put it aside, and then look for the components that go with it. And basically a motherboard is the only thing you'd be looking for in terms of a CPU, and then you can go from there. So this is actually how you can actually start building your Lego pieces, by finding compatible pieces over time, and you can build one. You don't have to shell out thousands of dollars at once. I think sometimes what people would do is they'll go to like bestbuy.com, and then they'll look at look at all of these different, gaming PCs, and then they'll start freaking out at the price points, and they say, this is not feasible. I'm just going to go buy myself a console. I think that way is actually the way that, usually allows for people to miss out on stuff like this. The best way I think to do it is to just start very small and eventually work your way up to getting yourself the build and the rig that you actually do need. The next question too is, graphics cards, their prices, and all of the above. And the reality to that, ladies and gentlemen, is graphics cards, in my opinion, usually change a lot in their price points. Everything depreciates. That's just one thing about economics. Depreciation happens, and I think some people find themselves in a position where they think they have to get the latest and the greatest and the best. The reality is you don't. You just have to get what works. Now, yes, I'm playing at 170 FPS, but my former graphics card could play the game at 60 FPS. There's no problem. After 60 FPS, ladies and gentlemen, I can't really tell you much of the difference after 60 frames. Yeah, there's a difference. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there isn't. But, people that say I can't tell the difference between 30 and 60, I can tell from 30 to 60. I just can't really tell you much from 60, from way past 60. Maybe 90 because of Arkham Knight. I can see Arkham Knight getting some of those, and I can say, yeah, I think I see it right now. So I can probably give you that one. I can say I can see 90 FPS, but because it's Arkham Knight, I played the game so much, I can tell you the differences between that game and the differences between this game as well. So yes, that's a possibility. That's something that you also have to pay attention to in that regard. And so when you kind of think about it, you want to look and say, okay, what performance do I want? Do I want 60 FPS? Do I want 90 FPS? Do I want 120 FPS? Do I want 200, 300 FPS? And every time you're adding these layers of FPS, just understand that thousands and thousands of dollars are being demanded from you in that regard. But here's the thing. Your gaming PC is capable of much more than your console is. Your console is designed and optimized for just gaming, so you also have that extra layer of being able to do other workloads for your own personal self. Unless, of course, you want to separate your work, which you're in front of a PC every day, and you just want to game different, separately. You can build that gaming PC and just set it up in a place where you're using it just for gaming. In a sense, you can put it in your living room, in your, entertainment center or whatever it is, and its job is just going to be for gaming. I've done things like that before. I used to do a lot of fun projects. PC components, have always been really cheap anyways. And I would just, I'll build a very tiny computer that could fit into a small corner. I'll buy really cheap parts and stuff, and I'll just use it to game from my living room. I didn't care about performance more than like 60 FPS, and that was it. Yeah, Arkham Knight, I think it's maxed out at 90 FPS. I haven't seen it anywhere better. Maybe you can unlock the frame rates. I think you can. People were doing tricks like that when the PC version first came out, and people were having a lot of issues. Yeah, it says max FPS. It just says cap the maximum frame rate to 90 FPS per second. Enabling VSync may override this cap if your hardware cannot achieve 90 FPS. So I guess this can. But it's not an NVIDIA graphics card too. This is an AMD graphics card, so I can't put on enhanced interactive debris and fog, but I can get rain and light shafts. Oh, thanks NVIDIA, because I'm using an AMD card. And so these are some of the things that you get to kind of like, see and enjoy. And it brings us back to the whole conversation of, it appears that a lot of these video games that are trying to achieve all these fun stuff may somewhere have missed out on the possibility that these single player games, not only did they benefit from, the fact that people loved them, they benefited from the fact that they were simple and they were able to just do fun stuff and run on some really, really fun performance. I do not like this Riddler's stage here. I don't know why. I think it's so confusing. I remember I've played it with almost all of my other characters. And I have to say, I've noticed some... See that? Did you see that? I was countering, and I could not counter that guy. I saw him coming, and I've been noticing some issues with Arkham Knight as well on PC. They haven't patched it in a long time. But it is what it is. That's one thing about a lot of these older games too. You get to deal with all of that. So if you're trying to build a PC, my shtick is, start out where you can, and also be willing to take the deep dive, because yeah, you probably have your, new generation console, you have your Series X, Series S, your PS5, but I think you're probably the prime gamer that would probably be willing to look into this, say, than somebody that was coming from a PS4. And if you're coming from PS4 and you look at the current gen consoles and you're like, it doesn't seem like they're really all that to me, PC might be getting some better frame rates, and you have the funds to be able to pull it off, then by all means, follow some of these ideas around, and you'll be able to get yourself a really, really solid computer out of all of this. Let me beat on these guys for this round. I don't know why I don't like this stage. I think just too much, but still, it's running it at a steady 90 FPS. All the VFX and everything, it looks like it's all working. Let's go before that guy runs up on me. Die. I was trying to stun him, but I forgot Nightwing does not really stun from distance very well. And so I just basically went ahead and just hit him with the projectile. See, I tried to stun that guy. I double tapped. I don't know if you can hear my button inputs. Look, I'm gonna get hit by that thing unless that thing forgets me. I have to double tap my buttons sometimes. I don't know why it's doing that. Yeah, this stage does that for some reason. Yeah, I suck when it comes to this thing, man. The lights. The lights are just so weird. Maybe I'm giving excuses. Maybe I actually suck. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get off this, video. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. I'm really happy to answer as much as I can, because I strongly believe that there's a better value proposition as a PC gamer. There's so many more advantages that I probably didn't even talk about here. And I'm sure that you probably have to, go through a learning curve. There is a learning curve. It's not as easy and smooth of a transition, like say buying a new PlayStation console or a new Xbox console and then signing into your account. No, you got to do some groundwork. But at the end of the day, it is absolutely worth it. So, like I said, talk to me in the comment section, and hopefully we'll talk in another one. Peace out.